welcome back and thanks for staying with us on Daybreak this morning. It's now time for the newspaper review. Let's take a look at what the front pages are saying. I will start with Daily Trust newspaper, and we have the lead story, which is on the 20th Daily Trust Dialogue. Candidates' blueprints cannot solve Nigeria's problems, says panelists. We also have writers that says two major parties lack ideological identity, says Onayekan. Manifestos mere academic work. There are more desperados than Democrats among candidates, says Kabiru Yusuf. We have full confidence in INEC, says US. Now more stories. We foiled 66 attempts to hack FEC virtual meetings, says federal government. Troops neutralized 84 terrorists in northeast-northwest, rescue 122 victims in 2 weeks. Details of that can be found on page 51. Death toll from Nasarawa bombing rises to 40, says Governor Sule. On the footnote there, we have Mafab adds Kano, Kaduna, Port Harcourt, Enugu to 5G network rollout plan. And then at the top of the page there, banks short of new notes as ATMs dry up. And writers here says reps tackle commercial banks over new currency policy, and we are constrained by CBN guidelines, says bank executives. These are some of the stories on the front page of Daily Trust.
And moving on now to leadership on Friday, we have as the major story Atiku. Tinubu returned to the trenches over alleged plot to scuttle elections. Stop getting high on your own smoke, Asiwaju tells ex-VP PDP. Count me out of your problem with PMB, Atiku replies. PDP asks DSS to grill Asiwaju on revolution and riot call. And you find here on the front page the photograph of leadership group General Managing Director Mazu. They're presenting a nomination letter for the 2022 Leadership Governor of the Year to the Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai. And to other stories, military keep mum on Niger Nasarawa airstrikes. A leadership award will spur us to do more, El-Rufai. Naira redesign traders, businesses rejecting old notes. A Northern group alleged plot to sabotage conduct of free elections. Masterminds of jailbreak sent to their maker. That's on page 6. And FG faults Atiku over Jakarta Steel comment. These are the major stories on the front page of Leadership on Friday.
Okay, now up next is Nature News. And let's see, the lead story here talks about Buhari to African leaders spend more on agric. And just above that story, Coca-Cola moves to curb global plastic waste, unveils projects. We have special agro-industrial processing zones. Nigeria gets $538.05 million from ADB. Others. Global seaweed industry could reduce land needed for farming, says study. And just below the page there, UNDP lauds Nigeria as conspiracy in Gulf of Guinea declines. Details on page 6. Federal government will make $500 million from cashew exports in 2023, says minister. Government plans generation of electricity from ethanol. And on the footnote there, NFF bans 3 referees, vows to punish others. And these are some of the stories on Nature News.
And moving on to This Nigeria, we have the Naira redesign. Gbajabia Miller threatens Emefiele with warrant of arrest. And the major story there, 159 Nigerians renounced citizenship in 2022, and that's according to the federal government, says Jackpot syndrome fueling high passport demand. It appears everybody wants to leave the country. And to other stories, 267 terrorists surrender as troop kill 157. Police confirms 28 herdsmen, several cattle killed in Nasarawa bomb blast. Obasanjo, Wike, Fayemi calls for deepening of democracy in Nigeria. And alleged 5 billion fraud, ICPC rearrest ex-JAMB register, or Jarinde. And false custody orchestrated to frustrate Tinubu, says Shege. These are the major stories on the front page of This Nigeria.
All right, up next is the Punch newspaper. From the top of the page there, Katsina youths protest hardship, stone officials during Buhari's visits. AGF pays $446 million Ajaokuta judgment debt. We also have a graft. ICPC rearrests former JAM registrar. And beside the nameplates there, Adeleke versus Oyetola. Tribunal rules today. Police warns troublemakers. Now, the lead story here talks about mega churches, schools, bar old Naira note payment offering. Now, writers on that story says new notes shortage forces banks to shut ATMs. Customers demand extension. Reps threaten Emefiele with arrest, insists CBN governor must obey summons. Law professor sues CBN. NLC writes Buhari over deadline extension. And just below that story is a pictorial of a fire that gutted part of Balogun market, and traders bemoan losses even as that happened. And below the page there, petrol scarcity, protesters block a Lagos-Benin expressway. My wife battled for survival as hospitals refuse treatment, slain lawyer's husband says. And power tariff shortfall now 2.5 trillion naira, says federal government. These are some of the stories on the Punch newspaper.
I'm moving on to First News newspaper this morning. Naira redesign. Despite Speaker's arrest threat, Emefiele shuns reps summon again. House will issue arrest warrant against CBN governor next Tuesday, Gbajabiamila vows. Following ad hoc committee's recommendation, House sets up committee to meet Emefiele, CBN directors, bank CEOs next Wednesday. Emefiele part of Buhari's delegation to Senegal, CBN writes lawmakers. Apex Bank lying, trip over, president back in hometown, later action in fertility, Dogwa. So much seems to be going on. And to other stories, Obi to Bauchi voters, we will use our funds in your state to develop the north. And to other story, Tinubu fuel scarcity, Naira redesign comments not meant to attack Buhari. That's coming from the APC. And you can't set me against Buhari, Tinubu tells Atiku, accuses PDP of sabotaging fuel supply and blackmailing the federal government. And to other stories, Nigerians must get the 2023 election right. Obasanjo tells politicians new Nigeria can't be created overnight. Prison break perpetrators sent to their maker, federal government. Why next president may fail like Jonathan Buhari, Professor Ibrahim. A new Naira notes court urged to restrain CBN, Emefiele on deadline. These are the major stories on First News this morning.
All right, next is Blueprint newspaper. Don't pitch me against Buhari, Tinubu tells Atiku others. That's on fuel scarcity and Naira redesign. We have writers that says accuses fifth columnist of distorting comments. Our candidate only re-echoed issues known to Buhari, says PCC. Ashiwaju in Benue promises student loan scheme. Atiku woos Southerners, restates commitment to restructuring. Details on page 6 and 8. Now, CBN directed us to dispense redesigned Naira only via ATMs, says banks. Writers here says we receive only a fraction of deposits. Reps threaten Emefiele with arrest warrants, and lawyer drags CBN to court, seeks deadline extension. Still on CBN, CBN stops foreign charges on domestic card transactions. Details on page 22. 159 Nigerians renounce citizenship in 2022, says minister. UK cuts tariff on Nigerian non-oil exports. Now, Pantami here says federal government generated $820.8 million from 5G, created 2.21 million digital jobs. More stories. Oyelese to Makinde, start campaign for Atiku or forget second term. Deep Sea Port, Lekki Deep Sea Port to boost non-oil revenue by $361 billion, says NEPC. Again, gunmen kill police officer civilian in Imo State. Calabar University students get scholarship for conservation of gorillas. And these are some of the stories on the Blueprint newspaper.
Moving on to The Guardian. Stampede as Nigerians tackle CBN deadline on cash swap. But Abia Miller threatens Emefiele with arrest over non-appearance. We are bound by CBN guidelines, banks tell reps. NLC charges CBN to extend deadline. Dawn approaches court to restrain CBN Emefiele on deadline. CBN unfazed unveils domestic cash scheme. Buhari visit hampers business activities, Naira swap in Katsina. Bank workers count bulk cash manually as machines break down. Scarcity of new notes threatening POS operators. Act now, Nigerians facing hardship over fuel scarcity. New notes, Ghana tells FG. Emefiele not bigger than the National Assembly, says MBF spokesperson. You'll find the details of this story on page 6. You have also photos there from the ongoing fuel scarcity, owners of kegs and motorists waiting for fuel at Mobi filling station in Abulegba in Lagos. And to other big stories there on the front page. Ogoni, after 7 years, residents lament slow pace of cleanup. You find very distasteful photographs there of a resident trying to scoop water from what appears to be a contaminated environment right there on the front page. And to other stories, ICPC uncovers fresh evidence, rearrest ex-JAMB registrar Ojerinde. I didn't criticize Buhari over fuel scarcity and Naira redesign, only offered advice. Tinubu clarifies. AFDB IFAD signs new pact to support 40 million African farmers and increase financing. And students march against tuition fee hike and loan bill in Gombe. And to the final stories there on the front page, youths protest as Buhari commissions projects in Katsina. These are the major stories we have to you from the various papers we have reviewed this morning. I now have the pleasure and privilege, of course, to welcome on set our reviewer this morning, the editor, 21st Century Chronicle. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Darshan.
All right, so Mr. Nuruddin Abdullah, let's begin with the lead story here, although we will not be taking a deep dive because we intend to discuss this, in the next hour. But can you just tell us your general observation on this year's dialogue?
Okay, this year's dialogue, like the one of 2019, it came at a time, some days to the, weeks to the election. So, and the theme, like that of 2019, was political. So, without going maybe deeper, as you can see, experts, politicians, electorate generally gathered there, converged there. I know they sort of prefer last-minute advice to the candidates, less than maybe 30 days from today to the mandate. So I think maybe it was a last-minute advice to the candidate. Okay, this is what Nigerians want. And if you can see from the array of interventions, because there is a lot of displacement, almost all the major political parties are talking about only one thing. They are not in sync with the major issues affecting Nigerians. So it is a very good opportunity, and mostly when it comes at the eve of election like this, it's usually well charged, because it created an avenue where those seeking political offices, as well as those who will vote, as well as even observers like you, that of yesterday, converge, cross-fertilize ideas, and seek the way forward.
As we did promise, we'll be bringing you more of this detail. Of course, you'll be hearing it from Nuruddin Abdullah at the next hour. We'll look at other issues that made the front pages at this moment. The cashless wahala and the redesigned Naira seem not to be going away. Daily Trust reports about the ATMs drying up. On The Guardian, we're looking at stampedes, in some of the locations as people just to return their old money. What do you make of all of this development around the cashless policy in the last 24 hours, especially in the face of the Speaker of the House of Reps threatening to issue an arrest warrant on the Apex Bank Caesar?
Okay, the confusion that enveloped the country, when people thought that it's only the rich are going to be affected, they are wrong. Because maybe, like the president's mind, he believes everybody is a civil servant. We have 218 million Nigerians. How many of this percentage? Less than 10% are public servants, I think. Majority, more than 60% of this population, eke out their living from the informal sector. Majority of this engage in the informal sector are not even captured by the banking sector. Go to Kano, go to places like Kano. And even where states, because the economic reality, insecurity and what have you. Take Borno, for instance. Out of the 27 local governments in Borno State, banking presence can only be 10 in 2. I'm quoting the governor here. Only in Maiduguri metropolitan local government, as well as Biu. No banking presence in the entire 25 other local governments. Go to Kaduna, for instance. If you are in Gwantu, Sanga local government, the border town with Benue State, Nasarawa State, and Plateau State, you have to go to Kapanchan. And how many banks do you even have in Kapanchan itself? Or Jos. It's the same story all over. Go to Kano. Go to Kasur Singa in Kano. Go to Kantankwari in Kano. So it's a very beautiful development, but the political aspect deliberately inserted into the program as loud blood is what is crippling it. There is nothing wrong with redesigning the Naira for security, whatever and whatever. But it's a simple thing. You have a deadline. After the deadline, the machines will be dispensing the new notes. You can only get new notes at the bank halls. Then you phase it out gradually. That's what obtains elsewhere. And you can see even the confusion is getting deeper, that a ruling party's presidential candidate is speaking like an opposition candidate. A ruling party's candidate is accusing the opposition party candidate of creating these problems so that to sabotage him or to edge him out during the elections. So look at the confusion. And the presidential villa is mom.
Well, suffice it to say that the president on several occasions has insisted that this would happen and there is no going back. Apparently, the Caesar is just yielding to the body language of we're back to the era of body language, maybe. But away from this, I'm sure we will continue to keep tabs on this development. Tuesday feels like eternity, for a lot of people to do what they have to do. It's gratifying to see that some cash swap programs have taken up in some places, but there is still so much more to happen. Yesterday, I saw a very interesting because somebody said he's in the filling station. They will not take old note after he has queued for nearly 8 hours to get to the points of purchase. But that's it. This gory photograph on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. If our producers will kindly help us, put up the Guardian newspaper again about the Ogoni cleanup, and the whole government promises in the last 7 years and effort, and to think that we don't seem to be making as much progress as we desire. And every time the Ogoni issue comes up, for people who are students of history, it leaves you wondering whether there is anything to celebrate about even discovering oil wells in other places because we have not behaved correctly with the environment. And I don't know, what's your take on this story?
So many factors, Mr. Sunday. You remember
Most
the court case won by the Ogonis in the UK, versus Shell. I remember when President Buhari came, we celebrated him when they started the
cleanup exercise.
At the dialogue are positive that discussions at fora like this will contribute to national consensus on issues. They said the theme of the dialogue, interrogating the 2023 presidential agenda, is coming at the right time to guide and inform the electorate.
Started it, and 7 years on, no remarkable. What is the problem? So the people in Kolmani and Nasarawa now, they should brace up to this. You understand? They maybe people don't go there. If you go there, you really cry for these people. You know that this agitation, and you know when the agitation is left unchecked, left unattended, go there and see. The first time, I think more than almost 12 years that I've been there, I just look at the river. Crude oil. Nobody is talking about farming, not to talk of even a marine life there. And you know, some kind of horrible pipes that you have to be crossing. I say, but these people are left to their own devices. So we hope, the president still has maybe 5 months, maybe to speed up that process. He was celebrated. You know, after long court cases, international courts and what have you, the reclamation will start. Money was budgeted. He even went there, you remember. Yeah. But now he's living, and the thing is turning into a Mambila, Barrow port project and what have you. It is really not nice.
Well, let's take a look at this particular story, talking about 159 Nigerians renouncing their citizenship in 2022, and this is according to the federal government. The Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, was saying that the Japa syndrome is actually fueling a high, demand for passports as well.
So I don't know. I don't have the data for 2021, 2022, 2020, 2019, for instance, to make comparison. But like the Japas, people want to leave. Certainly, as you can see, I have friends that went there for studies and they never come back. We only meet on Facebook. And at any given opportunity, they're even rescuing their family members. I know a lady that relocated her mom to Canada. You understand how to feel. So there is nothing wrong. We are many. But we're talking about the diaspora remittances. If maybe we can arrange this like the Indians did. Even in Nigeria here. We have Ghanaian, when we started, we have Ghanaian teachers. We have Indian, Pakistani doctors. We have Indian doctors, and what have you. And what does it mean? Yeah, we pay them, but we pay back their country in hard currency at that time. And even now, it's human capital development. Train more doctors, let them flood Africa, provide service. Nigeria should get some percentage on what they earn there. There should be that arrangement, you understand? It's a very good and welcome development. But as you can see, take UK for instance. Our doctors are flocking to UK. Just last month, health personnel in UK embarked on a strike. Ambulance services, they embark on a strike. So it's a normal. So what we just need to do, there are certain, I think our problem is just like some certain plug-ins that we need to reset. When we set them, generality, a typical Nigerian is not ambitious. The villager in Kauranamoda or in Jigawa State, for instance, in Babari Jigawa, for instance, or in Vadekia in Benue, what do they need? Feeder roads. They are mostly they rely on agriculture. After the harvest, the truck can ferry out their produce to the market. A PHC, one nurse, they don't want a doctor or whatever. Standard PHC, they have paracetamol. There is a maternity attendant that attend to their wives when they deliver. Give them anti-snake bites, anti-malaria and whatever. When it is season, give them fertilizer. Do one secondary and primary school you can still absorb, they don't bother. But they were denied all this. The worst part of it, even though you don't give them no health facility, no feeder road, no fertilizer, no whatever. They can't even stay in their own poverty because bandits, gunmen, what have you, are chasing them away. So that's the reality. So if you can provide the basic, people will be happy. But unfortunately, the basic that you don't need much to provide will not work. So that's why I said there are certain plug-ins that we need just to reset until we get going.
Interesting. We would look at one more question before I let you go there. The Friday leadership is saying that the military keeps mum over Niger Nasarawa airstrike, but in a similar development, the military is also reported to have neutralized about 82 bandits in another report. Why are we quick to give numbers of those neutralized when there are casualties that we cannot explain what is now beginning to look like an unfortunate reoccurrence?
So I think this attitude, there was a press conference about the DHQ yesterday, I think, where they mentioned surrounded and whatever. I don't know why they were not asked, principally. This is some of the problems with the military. Accidents do happen all over the world, but you have to own it up. We're talking about 38 innocent lives bombed to death. You understand? Their lives matter.
True.
Keeping mum will not solve the problem. And look at it. We're talking about the Benue Nasarawa axis. Already, if you read the report yesterday, they said that some state officials instigated the military to launch that aerial attack. So what does it mean? More stories, unfortunately, if care is not taken, may come out from there. Even though the Nasarawa governor was there, he was people. But you understand the dimension that thing is taking. These are pastoralists whose cattle were arrested by anti-grazing guards of Benue State. They went there, they paid a fine of over 20 million, got some parts of the cows, about 1,000 of them, loaded into trucks, drove for more than 100 kilometers. It was at the point of disembarkment that the bomb started flying. So I don't know the coordinates the military used. Yes. And if, for instance, you see maybe some people in certain areas moving, even on bandits don't move their Russell cows on trucks. So I think the earlier the better, the military come out clean on this. If it is an accident, we know what happened in Ran. We know what happened in Yobe. We know what happened in Zamfara not long ago.
That's right.
You understand? It's normal, but keeping mum is not a solution, particularly because this may degenerate into another criminal crisis along that axis.
That's the much that we can take on newspaper review this morning. This time, we are not letting Nuruddin go. He's going to be our co-anchor, no longer a guest, for the purpose of today's show. We'll take a short breather. When we return at the top of the hour, we'll bring you all of the latest. Please stay with us.
But in a situation where you find that they look like the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
I have said that